Hey gang, it's me, Spencer Bates, the Busy Beaver. Thank you so much for being here on the channel today. Make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the great content that we have on the way. This is still a new channel, trying to get it off the ground, and we are looking to make a scene right here on YouTube. You're not going to want to miss a thing. Now, to get to the video du jour. 10 great mods to bring Skyrim into 2020. Listen, Skyrim is a phenomenal game. It came out in 2011, rocked my world, turned me into an actual man. My chest hair literally grew probably 2 inches the day that Skyrim came out, and I can't say that about very many games. However, trying to replay it in 2020, there are so many things that scratch me the wrong way, whether they be graphical or in regards to AI or character design. And I know that anybody coming back to the game or trying to get into it for the first time this year is going to experience a lot of the same things. Luckily, Bethesda has opened Skyrim to the modding community basically from day one of its release, and these people have worked tirelessly for hundreds of hours over the course of years to provide us with thousands of mods that allow us to customize Skyrim to play the way that we want it to play. Here I've gathered 10 of the best ones that I think you can use to sort out some of the basic issues that keep Skyrim from being enjoyable in 2020. Now, even used all together, I can't promise that these 10 mods will transform Skyrim into a modern AAA title before your very eyes, but they will give Skyrim a new look and a new feel that will allow you to enjoy it even 8 years after its release. I've put links to these mods pages on nexusmods.com down below, so please go check them out over there. Now, do be aware that I'm using the Skyrim Special Edition, and there are different mods for each version, so if you are looking for vanilla mods, this may not be the video for you. The first mod on this list is Realistic Water 2. When Skyrim first came out, there were a lot of glitches with water where parts of it would disappear and it just looked ugly in general. And they worked hard after release to try and fix some of those issues, and they did okay. Unfortunately, even in 2016's Special Edition, the water does not look fantastic, especially by today's standards. What Realistic Water 2 does is it makes it so that the water in standing bodies of water doesn't flow anywhere anymore. Because I don't know about you, but I've never seen like a lake where the entire body of water was like flowing someplace. And it also makes it so that the water is a little bit more transparent and realistically colored. And things like waterfalls have a little bit more smooth of a texture so that it looks a little bit more like real life instead of like some weird stringy water thing flowing down a mountain. It's a good change, trust me. And considering how many rivers you come across in your Skyrim adventure, it's one that you're going to notice constantly. The second mod is the unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch. Now this mod just looks at a whole bunch of different glitches and bugs in Skyrim in general, and just fixes them as best as it can. And it's not going to make Skyrim a perfectly bugless game. There is no such thing as a perfectly bugless game. But it's going to take a lot of the things that made Skyrim broken and unplayable out of there. And so you're not going to run into so many problems anymore. And that's a must in 2020. We don't like games that are full of bugs, even if they are hilarious, like flying mammoths or dudes stuck in trees. Another great benefit of this mod is that it's compatible with tons and tons of other mods. It's not going to get in the way of your other installations, and that's really important, especially for something that covers so much of the game, like this one. Next up is Skyrim 2020 with Parallax by Pusher. I don't know how to pronounce that name, but this is a great mod. And it takes a lot of the textures of Skyrim and just revamps them a little bit to be more acceptable for 2020. And the thing that I like most about it is the parallax effect when you're looking down at leaves or other, usually plant-based textures. Basically, it makes it so that everything in Skyrim doesn't look flat, like it's just painted onto whatever surface it's on. And this goes a long way, it really does. I think that textures are one of the most important parts of a game's graphics, other than maybe, in my opinion, lighting. Your textures are what's going to make your game look really realistic, and so this is a must. Next, we have the Static Mesh Improvement mod, or SMIM. This is kind of a classic mod. I feel like it's been around for a long time, and tons of people have downloaded and used it. The Static Mesh Improvement mod takes a lot of the objects that you'll find around Skyrim that you never really think about too much, but, you know, they're always there, like fruit, bread, tables, posts on bridges with ropes tied to them, fire pits, things like that, and it just updates the textures of those items to look more modern and more interesting and more realistic, and that's something that you definitely need in Skyrim. This mod usually plays really well with other mods as well, and I've never had a problem, even though I've used this mod on a couple of playthroughs, and all that it does is just increase the visual pleasure that you experience when you play Skyrim. When Skyrim first came out, I was astonished by how good the people looked, from their faces to their character models. But guess what? Faces and bodies in Skyrim simply have not aged well. They look ridiculous and terrible. Luckily, there are some mods that can take care of some of this. Now, animating all the characters differently is very tricky work for modders, but you can get the total character makeover, which basically just features remeshing for a lot of the different body parts, better faces, high-def resolutions for war paint, dirt, freckles, and scars. There's a lot of little things that this mod spruces up to make faces and people look better in Skyrim. Now, this mod does not have any like nudity or anything like that. If you're into that sort of thing, I'm sure that there's a mod out there for you. But this one is just to bring things into the next gen and make everybody look a little bit better in-game. And it does that, and it does it quite well, I would say. Now, if there's anything that's aged less well than the character animations and models, it's definitely the character AI. People will say random stuff to you. They'll do really awkward, weird things, both on their own and when you're around. And it's just bizarre and weird, and it really does not translate well into the modern age. I really do think that you could give a 4-year-old a cardboard box and some crayons in 2020, and with all the tools available to him, he could probably come up with better AI than what Skyrim has on its own. But luckily, Skyrim is not on its own anymore because you are modding it, and you're going to mod it with immersive citizens. This is an AI overhaul, and it basically just increases your immersion by making it so that characters talk to you a little bit less depending on where you're standing. They say intuitive things to each other instead of weird stuff, and they basically just mind their own business a little bit more. It seems simple, but it really does help a lot. One feature of the mod that I love is the survival instinct that it gives to citizens, where if you're coming after them to kill them and you're clearly stronger than they are, they're just going to straight up run away from you. They're not even going to engage. This is a great mod. It really immerses you more than if you attack a chicken and everyone in the entire freaking village comes and tries to mess you up, even if you're wearing like pure Daedric armor and you're obviously the most powerful guy in town or in the world probably. Get this mod. It works and it's great. One thing that has always astonished me about Skyrim, even when I try to replay the vanilla version from 2011 today, is the weather. I think that the shreds of clouds and the coloring of the sky and the lighting have actually aged better than most other elements of the game. But that's no reason not to update them. I think one of the best mods to revamp the weather and lighting systems of Skyrim is Vivid Weather's Definitive Edition, a complete weather and visual overhaul for Skyrim. Now, what this does is it just makes it so that the night times are darker, the sky is bluer, the sunsets are more spectacular, the air is clearer, and the weather is a little bit more dynamic. There's more different things that the weather can do. You know, it can rain heavily, it can rain softly, it can snow more. These are just good changes. Now, where this mod shines is in the night. The night becomes darker, which means that you have to use torches and travel a little more carefully, but the night sky effects are absolutely breathtaking, whether it be the galaxies on a clear night or the aurora borealis on cloudier nights. They really do just make the game feel like the epic and large-scale experience that it was meant to be. The next mod is very popular, but I found that a lot of people have mixed opinions about it. This is the Open Cities Skyrim mod. For any of you who played Morrowind, which is the third game in the Elder Scrolls series, you know that the cities are all open spaces and you can enter from any direction that you want. There's no gate that you have to enter into, and you can just run into town from any place, and you can leave any place, and it's great. And that means that enemies can chase you into town freely, and it just really creates a more open and free feel to the game. And I think that this is overall a good change. One caveat with this one is that it does tend to create a few glitches. If there are characters who are supposed to be at certain posts around town, sometimes they're missing, and they never show up, and they're nowhere to be found. And this is a really serious problem, obviously, especially if you're doing a quest line. One way to get around this is to temporarily disable the mod, but that is inconvenient. Another issue is that if there's an enemy close by, directly outside the walls, especially if it's a weaker one and you don't have that nice AI overhaul that I was discussing earlier, sometimes the people in the town will kind of go crazy and just start running around and causing havoc. And then if there's somebody who's supposed to be in a certain place, it's difficult to find them because they've run off to fight something or to investigate something. Now, I think that the pros outweigh the cons. And so take this one as you will. It's not a total necessity if you're playing Skyrim in 2020, but it just adds a little bit more openness and freedom that I think is needed in an open world game, especially when we've had things like Breath of the Wild coming out. The next one is realistic ragdolls and force. This is a great mod. Basically, it just makes people become a little bit heavier so that they don't go flying randomly when you hit them with stuff, and it prevents them from slipping and sliding too far after you've killed them so that you can actually loot them. And in addition to being more convenient, this is more realistic and more immersive, and it's not totally ridiculous like it used to be. These are good changes. They're worthy changes. You should hit this thing up. Now, one thing is that this can be tricky with other mods, and just make sure to read the guide on the page very carefully before you try installing this so that you know what order to put it in and what to enable and what to disable. Overall, this mod just tweaks the physics system a little bit and gives it that extra edge of reality that I really do think the game needs, especially after 8 years of flying into the sky from being hit by a giant. There is no way that downward force from a club drives you 3,000 feet into the air. That makes no sense, and we all know it. It's funny, but it's time to stop. Okay, next mod. This is the last one, and it's one of my favorites and also probably the most graphically intensive mod on this list, except maybe the Skyrim 2020 with Parallax. What this mod does is it makes it so that there's just a crap ton of grass. There's so much grass, and there's different kinds of grass too. It uses grasses from a few other mods in order to create a lot of cool, pretty flowers and interesting textures in the grass, and it just makes the game world feel so much fuller and more like the actual wilderness. If you've ever been in the wild, you know that grass doesn't just grow in random tufts from place to place, and it doesn't load in weirdly when you run around. Grass is always there, and there's always a ton of it. And what this mod does is it just simulates reality by making there be a ton of grass. I don't know how else to explain it, but it really does look great, and it really makes the world feel full and dynamic and beautiful. Get this mod. I think this is one of the ones that makes it feel the most like a modern game. So there you have it, folks. That's my mod list. I've been playing Skyrim for 8 years, and these are mods that I think if they were installed on my machine, I could go ahead and give Skyrim another play. They make it so that Skyrim doesn't feel like such a dated game, and even though Skyrim is old, and it would be really difficult to make it feel completely like a brand new AAA game, these mods are going to add back some of the magic and discovery that made Skyrim so great in the first place. I'll tell you guys what right now, 16-year-old Spencer Bates' mind would be absolutely blown by the possibilities that have been opened by the modding community. Seriously, good job to them, and good job to you for watching this video, because what that means is you are still into Skyrim. Now go forth, my friends, and play Skyrim, enjoy it to the max. Use these mods and tell me what you think in the comments down below, especially if you think I missed an important mod. Let your brothers and sisters in the comment section know about it. They will thank you forever, because making Skyrim enjoyable is what life is all about. Thank you so much, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe down below again, and we'll see you next time.